So what's up everyone? In this video I'm going to show the remade New York City drawing. It's been a while since I last did this video where I would go through a ginormous drawing of a major city and I would just talk about major cities. This one is going to be kind of different because I'm not going to really talk in front of the camera. I'm going to provide the voiceover. New York City is one of my favorite cities. It's actually one of my top 3 all-time favorite cities. And that's why I'm wearing the Statue of Liberty crown on my head that I got from Walmart. I really admire the Big Apple very much. Very much. I'm not going to go too fast or too slow. I'm going to stick with the proper pace. And without any further ado, let's go ahead and start. I do apologize for setting this video like this. I want to make sure I give you guys the perfect look of this drawing. I didn't want to use my actual camera because the camera's quality is really not the best, so I had to use my phone because it has a much more better resolution. Here we got the compass to your left. The city is obviously named after James, Duke of York. It is obviously the most populated US city. It's been that way for over 200 years. Here's the flag. Here's the map of New York City, the 5 boroughs: Manhattan, the Bronx, Brooklyn, Queens, and Staten Island in different colors. Here we got the map of New York, the state of New York, and New York City is located in the southern tip of the state of New York. Here we got the some of the newest skyscrapers in New York City. It's not in the borough, not just in the borough of Manhattan, but also in the borough of Brooklyn. Yep, most of these skyscrapers are like over 1,000 feet tall. And New York City is kicking butt. It's all about competition of skyscrapers. Here we got the streets of New York City, some facts about the Big Apple. And there's a lot of interesting facts about New York City. Here we got some rappers, some of the famous rappers that were born in New York City. Some were born outside of New York City. Some were born in a different borough of New York City. For instance, Cardi B was born in Manhattan, New York, and I think she's been growing up in the Bronx. Here we got some WWE events that took place in New York City, like WrestleMania 1, 10, 20, Survivor Series 2002, 2011. Here we got the some even more like crappy illustrations of some New York City skyscrapers like the Empire State Building, One World Trade Center. Here we got some more facts about New York City. That's basically history based. I'm going to start with the right side of the drawing, and then we're going to slowly move our way to the left side of the drawing, so I can make things like perfect, I guess. Here we got some smaller buildings, some small high-rise buildings. New York City definitely has a lot of housing projects. Here we got the El Dorado, Broadway, which is it's a very popular diagonal street in New York City, specifically in the borough of Manhattan. Yeah, highly detailed buildings that I drew. That took a while for me to get past. A lot of work. Here we got the San Remo apartments of New York City. I didn't label that many places because New York City definitely has thousands and thousands of places. It is ridiculous. And we got the Hudson River. You'll find the river in the state of New York and on the west side of Manhattan. And as you move further up, you get to a much more taller high-rise buildings. Yep. Ridiculously tall. A crap load of skyscrapers. Here we got the Via 57 West. I love the design of that building. It's very modern looking. And here we got more buildings. And even more buildings. The Worldwide Plaza. Which I don't know if it's really underrated or overrated. It doesn't matter how popular the building is. And here we got the Times Square, a very popular area of New York City. That's a commercial district. Here we got Coney Island, a crappy, hideous illustration of Coney Island, and also South Beach. Coney Island is located in Brooklyn. South Beach is located in Staten Island. You saw Hell's Kitchen. I don't know if you really saw that. Here we got more tall buildings up here and some small buildings. Madison Square Garden, the world's most famous arena, Javits Center, it's a convention center in New York City, the Hudson Yards and some of the tall skyscrapers along the Hudson Yards, the infamous Empire State Building. I wasn't going to leave that building hanging. That building is far too iconic, more iconic than the Willis Tower. Ridiculously iconic. Yeah. And it's one of my favorite buildings of all time. And another look of the Hudson Yards, the Greenwich Village, and more housing projects. 30 Hudson Yards is actually one of the tallest buildings in New York City, and the tallest building in the Hudson Yards area. Here we got the West Side Highway along the Hudson River. Here we got Chelsea and other neighborhoods in this area. Here we got Jersey City. It's not located in New York, it's located in New Jersey. Here we got Lower Manhattan, One World Trade Center, Governor's Island. Yeah, so once you get past Midtown Manhattan, then you move on to smaller buildings. Here we got the Statue of Liberty, and as you move further up, to the bottom part of Manhattan, you're moving to a much more moving back to taller buildings. We got Staten Island. I drew a little bit of Staten Island, unfortunately. Over here we got Brooklyn. Brooklyn is the most populated borough of New York City. Fun fact right there. Here's the name, downtown Brooklyn, Brooklyn Bridge. New York by jury. I'm not sure if I said the G word right. I'm not good with names. I've been saying that so many times. And part of Lower Manhattan, One Manhattan Square, Manhattan Bridge, Fort Greene of Brooklyn, maybe Clinton Hill, maybe a little bit of Bed-Stuy, Lower East Side of Manhattan, Williamsburg Bridge, that's attached to the Manhattan Borough and Brooklyn Borough. Here we got Chinatown and Little Italy of Manhattan. More buildings. Definitely some high-rise buildings, as you're seeing here. We got the East River Con Ed, which is like a factory located, I think, in the Lower East Side. Here we got studios and TV shows of New York City. As I move a bit down here, we got Queens, New York. Maybe a little bit of Long Island City, which is a commercial district of Queens, New York. United Nations headquarters, the styles of New York City, their pizza, their bagel, their hot dog. New York City definitely has a large issue of rats. Here we got some of the all-star games that took place in New York City in the NBA, NHL, and MLB. We got more buildings over here. You saw the United Nations a bit earlier. We got the one Vanderbilt, the Chrysler Building, the infamous Chrysler Building, MetLife Building. Yep, definitely some infamous buildings in New York City. A lot of skyscrapers compared to Chicago, Philadelphia, other major American cities. Here we got Midtown Manhattan, obviously, the Flatiron Building. I should have labeled it on the drawing and not do that instead. I don't know what I was thinking. Rockefeller Center, I don't know if you guys really saw that. To your right, 432 Park Avenue, one of the tallest buildings in Manhattan. I think it's taller than the Empire State Building. Some soccer teams of New York City. Yeah, the Big Apple definitely got some major soccer teams. Roosevelt Island, as you can see. We got the Ed Koch Queensboro Bridge. That's attached to a smaller island, to a bigger island. Yep, we got the Rockefeller University, one of the biggest schools in New York City. So I can make it less confusing and distinguish. Here we got some some venues of New York City. Citi Field, located in Queens, New York, home of the New York Mets. The MetLife Stadium, it's located in New Jersey, actually. It's part of the New York metro area. It's located in a town in New Jersey. Here we got the Yankee Stadium. The top drawing is the old one. The new drawing is the current Yankee Stadium. Here we got the Barclays Center, located in Brooklyn. It's home of the Brooklyn Nets. Here we got the good old Madison Square Garden. It's home of the Rangers, the Knicks. Definitely those big teams there. And up here, we got the Plaza Hotel. It's good old Central Park, Columbus Circle, and we got Central Park Zoo. Definitely drew a lot of trees. Millions of trees I had to draw. I don't know why I decided to label that as the lake. I just thought it was absurd. I didn't know what the heck I was thinking. I didn't know what my brain was on. You just saw the MoMA, which is a very popular museum of New York City. I really want to visit these places one day. Here we got the Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis Reservoir. It's a big fat lake in Central Park, nearly in the middle of Central Park. More trees down here, ridiculous. And we move up here, we got Lenox Hill, a pretty popular neighborhood of Manhattan, New York City, New York, USA. I don't need to say all of that. We got more small high-rise buildings and smaller buildings from different decades and centuries. We got the Museum of New York City. Here is Harlem. Unfortunately, I didn't draw Harlem, New York. I wish I could, but I don't want to make the drawing that ginormous. Upper East Side, what you just saw there. Here's the race of New York City as of 2016. You saw Park Avenue. It's a popular street. Here's some of the popular films that took place in New York City, like Do the Right Thing, Goodfellas, Crooklyn, etc. Home Alone 2, Lost in New York. Here we got some neighborhoods of New York City. More buildings down here. More housing projects, specifically. And I drew some trees. Here we got the Bronx. Unfortunately, I did not draw the Bronx. I'm so sorry about that. I wish I could, but again, I don't want to make a drawing that ginormous. Here's some nicknames of New York City, like the Big Apple, the city that never sleeps, the capital of the world. More housing projects along the East River, FDR Drive. Sometimes my phone would not focus at all, and I do apologize about that. It did that a few times during this portion of the video. New York City sure has a lot of fire escape buildings. I don't know if I want to visit some skyscrapers because I am afraid of heights. I'm used to roller coasters because you're up in the air for a small amount of time, and I should be ashamed of myself for creating a drawing this gigantic. Yeah, I know. I still can't get over how big the drawing is. So I hope this video didn't waste any of your guys' time. I wanted to make sure this video isn't too extensive or too short, just the right length. You can tell I improved over the years with these drawings. The Remade New York City drawing is by far the best remake of a major city that I ever done. I'm satisfied about that. I am gonna praise the details and the energy of the Remade New York City drawing, but I am gonna criticize its size and its perspective. I feel like the perspective of the Remade New York City drawing is a little bit off. I feel like it's too big But overall, I do love the drawing. It's not that accurate. And I actually did a video of the New York drawing. I actually showed my New York drawing before. It's actually my first video in my original channel. So that is going to be the end of this video. Stay tuned for more content, and I hope this video is quite enjoyable to watch. Thank you very much for watching. I appreciate your time. Feel free to subscribe to this channel. Feel free to follow me on Twitter and Instagram. I love to connect with you people. And also, feel free to follow my Facebook page. So, I will catch each and every one of you guys later.